The *UES Horizon * drifted through the uncharted regions of deep space, its sleek hull cutting a path through the darkness like a silent predator. Far from the bustling trade routes and familiar colonies of humanity's growing empire, the crew of the *Horizon * was accustomed to the quiet isolation of exploration. But today, there was something different, a tension that hung in the air like static, prickling the back of every neck. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," Ensign Olivia Vaughn said from her station, her voice tinged with uncertainty. The young communications officer frowned at her console, tapping the holographic display as if hoping the anomaly would resolve itself. "It's a signal, but it's garbled, and it's not on any known frequency." Commander Lena Cade, a veteran of a dozen exploratory missions, straightened in her chair. Her sharp green eyes flicked to the main view screen, which displayed the vast emptiness before them, just another stretch of space, black and starless, or so it seemed. "Put it on speakers," she ordered. A burst of static filled the bridge, followed by a low, distorted voice. It was faint, almost incomprehensible, but the words that did come through sent a chill down Cade's spine. "Run. It's coming. No hope." The message cut off as abruptly as it had begun, leaving only silence in its wake. "Source?" Cade asked, her voice steady, but her mind racing. Her crew knew her as a leader who rarely showed fear, but something about the signal gnawed at her instincts. Lieutenant Malik Torres, the ship's chief engineer, scanned his console, his brow furrowed. "It's coming from about 50,000 kilometers dead ahead, Captain. Looks like it's originating from a large object, but sensors are having trouble getting a clear read." "Define large, Lieutenant," Cade said, rising from her command chair and stepping toward the view screen. "Larger than any ship we've ever encountered, maybe even larger than a space station," Torres replied, adjusting the sensors. "It's mostly dormant. No significant energy readings except for that faint signal, but I can't tell what it is exactly. Whatever it is, it's ancient." Cade nodded slowly. The unknown. This was why they were out here, wasn't it? To push the boundaries of human knowledge, to find the things that lurked in the dark corners of the galaxy. Still, there was something unsettling about this discovery, something beyond the normal excitement of uncharted space. Her instincts told her that whatever was out there, it wasn't just some derelict. She turned to Vaughn. "Any other transmissions on that frequency?" Vaughn shook her head. "No, Captain. Just that one distress call. It's on a loop, but it's deteriorating, like it's been broadcasting for a long time. Could be decades, maybe even centuries." Cade crossed her arms, staring at the blackness ahead of them. "Thoughts?" Torres was the first to speak. "I don't like it, Captain. There's too much we don't know. For all we know, that signal could be a warning, not a cry for help." "But it's still a signal," Vaughn added, her eyes wide with curiosity. "We could be looking at first contact, something entirely new. Isn't that why we're out here?" Cade understood both sides. She felt the pull of discovery as strongly as anyone, but Torres was right. There was too much unknown, and they couldn't afford to walk into danger unprepared. "Captain," Vaughn continued, her voice dropping to a near whisper, "whatever sent that message." They were terrified. Cade felt it too. The distorted voice from the transmission still echoed in her mind. "No hope, *. Bring us closer," Cade finally ordered, her voice firm. "I want a full visual of that ship. And keep shields up. I don't want any surprises." The Horizon * surged forward, its powerful engines humming as they closed the distance between themselves and the source of the distress signal. The ship's crew, a mix of seasoned veterans and bright-eyed explorers, tensed as they awaited the moment of revelation. Then, out of the darkness, it emerged. The ship, or what remained of it, was gargantuan. Twisted spires of dark metal jutted into the void, overgrown with strange, glowing tendrils that seemed to pulse faintly with life. It looked less like a spacecraft and more like a leviathan from some ancient myth, a monstrosity frozen in the final throes of its death. The bridge fell silent as the crew stared at the colossal wreckage. For the first time, even Cade felt the prickle of fear creeping up her spine. "What is that?" Vaughn whispered. Cade didn't answer. She couldn't. Whatever it was, one thing was certain. It wasn't human, and it had been waiting for them. This extended scene deepens the mystery and dread surrounding the alien signal, while also developing the crew's cautious but bold approach to the unknown. It keeps the audience engaged by introducing intrigue and setting up the looming danger without revealing too much too soon. The UES Horizon drifted closer to the immense structure, its hull bathed in the eerie glow of the alien ship. On the bridge, the atmosphere was thick with a tension that bordered on suffocating. No one had ever seen anything like it before. The ship loomed before them like a fallen god, its surface riddled with ancient scars, massive breaches in the hull exposing skeletal structures underneath. Whatever this vessel was, it had seen conflict. "Magnify the visual," Commander Cade ordered, her voice a calm contrast to the anxiety radiating from her crew. The view screen zoomed in, revealing more details of the behemoth. Towering spires that twisted like jagged thorns protruded from its surface, and glowing veins of some unknown substance crisscrossed its hull. The ship wasn't just metal. Parts of it appeared organic, as if it had grown rather than been built. Tendrils of some bioluminescent material wove in and out of the structure, pulsing slowly, giving the unsettling impression that the ship was still alive. Lieutenant Torres was the first to speak. This is beyond anything we've encountered. I can't even begin to estimate how old it is. The materials, the design, it's like something out of a nightmare. Who builds a ship like this?" Cade stepped closer to the view screen, studying the vessel with a practiced eye. There was an undeniable beauty in its alien, grotesque design, but it was the scale of the thing that was most terrifying. It dwarfed the Horizon a city-sized structure floating aimlessly through the void, wounded but not dead. "Any life signs?" Cade asked. Ensign Vaughn worked her console furiously, running scans across the massive structure. "None, Captain. No heat signatures or biological readings. But the ship's hull is dense, and those organic components could be interfering with our scans. There's no telling what's inside." "No power readings?" Cade asked. Torres shook his head. "Not that I can pick up. It's giving off a faint electromagnetic field, but nothing that indicates a fully functioning system. Most of the power must be offline." Cade considered the information for a long moment, her mind racing through the possibilities. The distress signal. Could it be automated? A loop left running by whoever built this thing. Vaughn nodded. "It's possible. The signal is incredibly degraded. It's been repeating for a long time, maybe centuries. Whoever sent it, they're likely long gone. Or they're still in there," Torres muttered under his breath, though everyone on the bridge heard him. His words hung in the air like a specter. Cade turned toward her second-in-command, Lieutenant Juno, who had remained silent up until now, her sharp eyes studying the alien ship. "Thoughts?" Juno didn't look away from the view screen as she answered. "It's a tomb. A relic of something ancient, something dangerous. We should proceed with caution. But this is the kind of discovery that changes everything. First contact with an unknown civilization, possibly predating humanity's entire history of space exploration. We can't walk away from this." Cade agreed, though a gnawing unease was building inside her. Every instinct screamed at her that this wasn't just a derelict. There was a presence here, something they couldn't yet comprehend. "Captain," Vaughn interrupted, her voice tight with surprise. "There's something else. I'm picking up faint residual energy signatures in the forward section of the ship, near what appears to be a breach in the hull. It's faint, but there's definitely something there. It could be a power core, or something worse." Cade exhaled slowly, her decision made. "We need to know what happened here. Prepare a team to board the ship." The words sent a ripple of anxiety through the bridge, but no one questioned her. They had their orders. Cade glanced at Juno. "You're with me. We'll take Torres, Vaughn, and 2 security officers. I want us fully armed and ready for anything. This ship's been through hell, and I don't want to be its next victim." Torres straightened. "If there's a chance to bring back any technology, Captain, we should." "I don't want heroics, Lieutenant." Cade cut him off, her voice hard. "Our priority is to find out what's still active in there and why this ship is sending a distress signal. Anything else comes second." "Understood." "Understood, Captain," Torres replied, though the gleam in his eyes betrayed his eagerness to explore the alien craft. As the crew prepared for the boarding mission, Cade couldn't shake the growing sense of foreboding. She had explored dozens of derelict ships before, uncovered relics from forgotten civilizations, but none of them had felt like this. None of them had radiated such a palpable sense of wrongness. The Horizon Asterisks engines slowed to a near stop as they approached the alien ship, its shadow swallowing them as they drew closer to the breach in its hull. Cade tightened her grip on the back of her chair, staring into the dark maw of the alien vessel. Whatever was in there, it had been waiting for a long time. This extended scene builds on the eerie atmosphere and sense of growing dread as the crew draws closer to the alien ship, maintaining suspense and intrigue while setting up the impending boarding mission. The boarding shuttle hummed quietly as it glided toward the breach in the alien ship's hull. Inside, Commander Cade stood near the rear, watching her team run final checks on their equipment. Each of them was tense, their faces lit by the harsh, flickering lights of the shuttle's cramped interior. 2 minutes until docking, Vaughn announced from the cockpit, her voice wavering just slightly. She was nervous, and for good reason. No one had been aboard a ship like this before. Cade ran her hands over her gear, making sure her helmet seals were tight, her sidearm charged. Beside her, Lieutenant Juno loaded fresh power cells into her plasma rifle with cold efficiency, her eyes fixed ahead. Cade could always count on Juno to stay calm in the face of the unknown. Across from them, Torres fiddled with his scanning equipment, unable to hide his nervous energy. His fingers tapped on the controls, recalibrating over and over again. "Relax, Torres," Juno said without looking up. "You'll fry your scanner before we even set foot on the damned ship." "Just making sure everything's working properly," Torres muttered, though he stopped fidgeting. "This place is unlike anything we've ever seen. I need to be ready for whatever we find." "You and me both," Cade replied, glancing toward the 2 security officers who sat in silence, their faces hidden behind reflective visors. They were good soldiers, experienced, but Cade could sense their apprehension. The shuttle shuddered as it locked onto the alien ship's docking point. The lights flickered briefly, the hum of the engines fading. They were there. "All right, everyone," Cade said, taking charge. "We don't know what we're walking into, but assume it's hostile until proven otherwise. Keep comms open, and no one strays from the group. Our primary objective is to assess the situation and locate the source of the distress signal. Torres, you scan for any remaining power systems or technology. Juno, you're on point. Let's move." The airlock hissed as it cycled open, revealing the breach in the alien ship's hull. The hole was jagged, as if something had ripped through the exterior plating. Beyond it lay a twisted, dark corridor, bathed in the same faint, organic glow they had seen from outside. Cade stepped forward, leading her team into the maw of the alien vessel. The air inside was stale, and the faint glow from the ship's walls pulsed rhythmically, like the slow heartbeat of a slumbering beast. The walls themselves were unnerving, not purely metallic, but interwoven with organic material, something akin to muscle fibers beneath the surface, twitching occasionally as if responding to their presence. "Christ," Torres muttered, scanning the walls. "It's like the ship is alive." "Keep moving," Juno ordered, sweeping her rifle across the darkened corridor. "I don't like this." Neither did Cade. The place felt wrong. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the soft thuds of their boots against the floor. Every so often, something would shift in the darkness, a shadow flickering at the edge of their lights, but nothing tangible. The team moved deeper into the ship, their path lit only by their helmet lamps and the sickly glow of the walls. As they ventured further, the twisted architecture grew more bizarre. The corridors were warped, as though the ship had bent and twisted under unimaginable forces. But there was no sign of life. No bodies, no debris, just emptiness. "Captain," Torres said, his voice trembling slightly, "I'm picking up some strange readings up ahead. There's definitely a power source of some kind deeper in, but I can't tell what it's powering. It's weak, but it's alive." Cade nodded. "That's our target. Vaughn, keep scanning for any transmissions. I want to know if this ship tries to communicate again." "Yes, Mom," Vaughn replied, already tapping at her wrist console. "Still nothing on known frequencies, but I'm keeping a close watch." As they turned another corner, the corridor opened into a massive chamber. The ceiling arched high above them, and the walls were lined with strange, oblong pods, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Each one was connected to the ship's pulsing tendrils, suspended in midair like cocoons. "What are those?" Juno asked, stepping closer to inspect one. Her visor reflected the pale light from the pod. "Some kind of stasis chambers," Torres guessed, inching toward one and running his scanner over it. "There's residual energy here, but it's ancient. Whatever, or whoever, was inside these things, they've been here a long time." Cade stepped forward, her eyes narrowing as she examined the pods. Something felt off. The silence of the chamber was suffocating, and the air was thick with an oppressive energy. Then she saw it. One of the pods was shattered. Cracks spiderwebbed across its surface, and the faint glow inside was gone, replaced by black, empty space. Something had broken out. "Captain," Vaughn's voice cracked over the comms, her tone strained. "I think you need to see this." Cade glanced at her. "What is it?" Vaughn pointed at her wrist console. "I just picked up a new signal, coming from inside the ship. It's weak, but it's definitely not the same distress call as before." Cade's blood ran cold as she listened to the signal. The message was clearer than the first, but the words were no less chilling. Asterisk, asterisk, it's awake, asterisk, asterisk. This part delves deeper into the eerie and unsettling atmosphere of the alien ship, building suspense as the team discovers its organic nature and the ominous pods. The pacing intensifies as they find signs that something has already escaped, leading into the chilling revelation that something or someone asterisk, asterisk, is awake, asterisk, asterisk. The creature lunged forward, a blur of motion and guttural growls, its massive claws scraping against the floor as it charged. Commander Cade barely had time to react. Her instincts kicked in as she dove to the side, her plasma pistol drawn in a heartbeat. Asterisk, asterisk, open fire, asterisk, asterisk, she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Juno didn't hesitate. Her rifle lit up the chamber with a series of rapid plasma bursts, each shot aimed directly at the creature's hulking form. The plasma bolts slammed into its armored exterior, sizzling on impact but doing little to slow it down. "Damn it, it's armored," Juno growled, adjusting her stance and firing again, aiming for what little exposed flesh she could see between the plates of metal and bone that made up its twisted body. Torres fumbled with his scanner, trying to keep his hand steady. It's some kind of hybrid, organic and mechanical. Those plates are absorbing most of our shots. Less talking, more shooting." Cade barked, firing off a few shots of her own. The plasma blast scorched the creature's side, causing it to howl in fury. But it kept coming, relentless in its advance. The two security officers had joined the fray, unloading their rifles into the creature's torso, but it was like fighting a tank with water guns. The thing barely flinched as it closed the gap between them, its claws extended, eyes glowing with an unnatural hunger. Cade's mind raced. They needed a plan, something other than brute force. If the creature was a hybrid of organic and mechanical parts, there had to be a weakness somewhere. But they didn't have time to find it. The creature was already upon them. With terrifying speed, it swung one of its massive arms, its claws catching one of the security officers across the chest. The force of the blow sent him flying across the chamber, slamming into the far wall with a sickening crunch. His body slumped to the floor, motionless. Asterisk, asterisk, no asterisk, asterisk, Vaughn screamed, firing wildly in panic. Her shots went wide, missing the creature entirely as it turned its glowing eyes toward her. Vaughn, pull back, Kate ordered, her heart pounding as the creature began stalking toward the young ensign. Regroup. Vaughn stumbled backward, her face pale with fear, but the creature was already too close. Kate gritted her teeth, her mind racing for a solution. There had to be a way to stop this thing before it tore them all apart. Then it hit her. Torres, Kate shouted. Can you disable its mechanical components? Torres blinked in surprise, ducking behind a broken pod as the creature swiped at him. Maybe. But I need time to scan for weak points. We don't have time. Juno growled, reloading her rifle as she moved to flank the creature. You scan. We'll keep it busy. Cade fired again, aiming for the joints in the creature's limbs, hoping to slow it down. Everyone focus on the weak spots. Aim for the joints, the gaps in its armor. We need to buy Torres time. Juno nodded and adjusted her aim, sending precise shots into the creature's knees and elbows. The plasma bolts hit their mark, and the creature let out a guttural roar of pain, its movements becoming more erratic as it staggered under the barrage of fire. But it wasn't enough to stop it. Torres, Cade shouted again, keeping her distance from the thrashing beast. What do you have? Tortoise was hunched over his scanner, his fingers moving in a blur as he analyzed the creature's form. The armor's laced with some kind of nanomaterial. It's repairing itself. But there's a weak spot. The junction where its spinal column meets its mechanical core. That's the only unarmored section. Cade didn't hesitate. Juno, hit that spot. Aim for the back of its neck. Juno circled the creature, keeping low as it swung its claws wildly, roaring in fury. She spotted the weak point, just below the back of its skull, where exposed wires and sinew met the armored plating. It was small, but it was there. Got it, Juno shouted, raising her rifle and firing a single, precise shot. The plasma bolt tore into the creature's neck, sending sparks and a spray of black ichor into the air. The creature howled in agony, its body convulsing violently as the energy from the blast shorted out its systems. For a brief moment, it stood there, trembling, its eyes flickering with fading light. Then, with a final, deafening roar, it collapsed to the ground with a heavy thud, its body twitching one last time before going still. The chamber fell silent, save for the ragged breaths of the surviving crew. Cade lowered her weapon, her hands still trembling from the adrenaline. Is everyone all right? Alive, Juno panted, wiping sweat from her brow. But that thing, what the hell was it? Torres approached the creature's lifeless form, still shaken. A hybrid, some kind of engineered monstrosity, half organic, half machine. It must have been dormant, waiting for something to wake it up. Cade stared at the creature, a cold dread settling over her. And now it's awake. Whatever built this ship, whatever made asterisk that asterisk, it's still out there. And we've only scratched the surface. This part delivers the intense, action-packed first encounter with the creature. The crew is forced to strategize and work together to exploit the hybrid monster's weakness. The pace builds to a climactic takedown of the creature, but the ending leaves the audience with lingering questions about the ship's origins and the horrors yet to come. The team stood in stunned silence, staring at the creature's lifeless body. Smoke and sparks still drifted from its shattered neck, the last remnants of its shorted-out systems. Commander Cade felt a knot in her stomach, the tension in the air as thick as the silence that now hung over the chamber. This thing. It was designed to kill, Juno said, her voice low, as if speaking too loudly might wake the ship itself. She nudged the creature's lifeless arm with her boot, inspecting the mechanical and organic fusion more closely. Whoever made this didn't just want to defend themselves. They wanted to hunt. Cade glanced over at Taurus, who was running his scanner over the creature again. His face had lost all color. What else are we dealing with, Taurus? Taurus took a shaky breath. This thing isn't just a sentry, Commander. It was part of something bigger. He tapped at his scanner, pulling up more data from the alien systems. I found fragments of a data core embedded in the ship's structure. From what I can tell, the species that created this ship, something called the Kari *, used this kind of tech to control their vessels. These hybrids weren't just warriors. They were extensions of the ship itself, linked into its very systems. So this thing was part of the ship, Juno muttered, the realization dawning on her. And the ship is awake now too. Cade's gaze hardened. Then the Kari * aren't just passengers. They're the architects of this nightmare. Vaughn's voice came over the comms, cutting through the haze of information. Commander, I'm picking up movement on the ship's internal systems. The power readings are spiking, and I'm detecting several new life signs. They're activating. Cade's heart sank. They had only just dealt with one monster, and now more were waking up. How many? Vaughn hesitated. At least 3. Maybe more. They're spread out across the ship, but they're converging on our location. Fast. Juno cursed under her breath. We stirred up the hornet's nest. Cade didn't waste time. We're moving. We need to get out of this chamber before those things close in. Taurus, how long until we can access more of the ship's data? Taurus glanced at his scanner, still downloading fragments of alien code. I've tapped into some of the ship's systems, but it's like a maze. The Kari * tech is way more advanced than anything we've seen. I can keep pulling data, but we're going to need more time to figure out what they were doing here. We don't have time, Cade snapped. Grab what you can, and let's move. The team quickly regrouped, weapons at the ready as they moved toward the exit. The walls around them seemed to pulse faster now, the ship reacting to their presence. Cade could almost feel the Kari's presence, an invisible eye watching their every move. As they made their way through the dimly lit corridors, the sound of distant, heavy footsteps echoed through the ship. Cade's mind raced, trying to piece together what the Kari had been up to. This ship wasn't just a vessel. It was a living weapon, powered by these hybrid monstrosities. And now that they had been awakened, they were coming for the intruders. They reached a narrow passageway, lined with the same organic tendrils that snaked through the ship. The passage twisted ahead, leading deeper into the heart of the vessel. Cade paused at the entrance, glancing back at the team. We move fast and quiet. Stick together, and no one gets left behind. Clear. Clear. Juno nodded, her rifle already aimed down the corridor. The team pushed forward, moving through the passage in tense silence. The ship's internal hum grew louder with each step, as if it was coming alive around them. The air itself felt heavier, oppressive, like the ship was breathing with them, watching them. Suddenly, a screech echoed from somewhere deep behind them. Cade froze. It wasn't just footsteps now. Something was howling, a bone-chilling sound that reverberated through the ship's twisted corridors. Vaughn's voice cracked over the comms again, panic rising in her tone. Commander, one of the life signs is heading straight for us. It's moving fast, faster than the others. Everyone, double time it. Cade ordered, her heart pounding. We need to find cover, now. The team broke into a sprint, their footsteps echoing in the narrow passage as the howls behind them grew louder. The sound of claws scraping against metal sent chills down Cade's spine. They couldn't afford to face one of those creatures in close quarters, not after what they'd barely survived in the last chamber. Up ahead, the corridor opened into another chamber, this one smaller but still lined with the strange, organic tendrils. Cade motioned for the team to take defensive positions, their backs against the walls as they trained their weapons on the passage they had just come from. For a moment, there was only silence. The distant sounds of the ship's hum, the pulsing of its walls, the faint echo of their own breaths. Then, with a terrifying suddenness, a shadow moved in the corridor. A massive figure burst through, moving with terrifying speed. It was another hybrid, larger than the last, with more exposed mechanical parts glinting in the dim light. Its eyes locked onto Cade and her team with predatory precision. Asterisk, asterisk, fire, asterisk, asterisk, Cade shouted, unleashing a barrage of plasma bolts as the creature charged toward them. The chamber filled with the crackling of energy as the team opened fire. The creature roared, barreling through the barrage with relentless fury. Here we go again, Juno muttered, readying for the fight of their lives. This part ramps up the tension as the crew realizes the full scale of the threat they face, with the Kari's creatures coming to life and converging on their location. The encounter with a second, larger hybrid sets the stage for a desperate fight for survival as the crew scrambles to escape the nightmare unfolding around them. The Kari hybrid charged forward, its heavy footsteps reverberating through the chamber. Cade and her team fired in unison, the chamber lighting up with the staccato bursts of plasma bolts. But the creature shrugged off the incoming fire like an enraged beast swatting at flies. Its mechanical limbs churned with impossible strength, sending metal plating and debris flying as it plowed through their defenses. Fall back, Cade shouted, motioning for the team to retreat. They scrambled to find cover, ducking behind twisted sections of wall and the organic tendrils snaking through the ship's interior. The creature's massive frame blocked the entire passageway, its glowing eyes tracking them with cold precision. Juno took a quick shot, aiming for its exposed joint. The bolt hit home, sparking against the metallic sinew. The hybrid snarled in pain but kept coming, its focus shifting to Juno. "You've pissed it off," she yelled, ducking as the creature swung one of its massive arms, smashing the wall where she had been standing. "This thing's tougher than the first one," Torres shouted, his scanner struggling to keep up with the hybrid's movements. "I can't find a weak spot. It's adapting." "Then we improvise," Cade growled, her eyes darting around the chamber. They were at a disadvantage, cornered in a tight space with no clear escape route. But if these hybrids were linked to the ship, there had to be a way to use that against them. "Vaughn, I need you to access the ship's controls. Override its environmental systems, whatever you can do to disrupt it," Cade called over the roar of the battle. Vaughn, crouched behind a section of broken hull plating, hesitated. "But Commander, I'm not sure I can." "Just do it," Cade snapped, firing a burst of plasma rounds to draw the creature's attention. "We need to turn this ship against itself." Vaughn's hands moved furiously over her console, her eyes scanning the unfamiliar alien symbols. The Kari's technology was unlike anything she had ever seen, an unnerving blend of organic interfaces and crystalline circuits that seemed to react to her touch as if alive. But she pushed forward, tapping into the systems. "Okay, I think I've found something," Vaughn called out. "The ship has localized environmental controls. I can vent the atmosphere in this section, or reroute power to specific nodes. Wait, that's it. I can supercharge the power lines in this chamber." "Do it," Cade ordered. Vaughn's fingers danced over the console. A series of alien glyphs flared to life, and suddenly, the ship around them began to hum louder. The tendrils along the walls started to glow, their eerie light intensifying. The hybrid paused, its head twitching as if sensing the change. "Get ready," Cade warned, her heart hammering in her chest. With a final keystroke, Vaughn activated the override. The ship's walls erupted with a surge of energy, the glowing tendrils pulsing with blinding light. The hybrid roared as the power lines exploded, sending arcs of electricity cascading through the chamber. The energy washed over the creature, crackling across its metal limbs, and searing into its flesh. The hybrid convulsed, its movements jerky and spasmodic as the ship's own systems turned against it. Sparks flew from its body, and its roar became a choked, guttural cry. The energy continued to build, and then, with a deafening asterisk crack asterisk, the creature's torso ruptured, spraying black ichor and shattered circuits across the chamber. Down. K. The explosion lit up the chamber, a blinding flash of energy that sent shockwaves rippling through the air. Cade shielded her eyes from the searing light as debris and fragments of the hybrid flew past her, slamming into the walls and scattering across the floor. When the light faded, the creature lay motionless, its massive form a tangle of shattered metal and charred flesh. Cade breathed a sigh of relief, her heart racing. "Is it dead?" "Let's hope so," Juno replied, cautiously stepping forward and leveling her rifle at the remains. The creature twitched once, then lay still. The chamber was silent again, save for the low hum of the ship's systems, which seemed to have stabilized. Vaughn blinked, her fingers still hovering over the console. "I can't believe that worked. The ship's technology it's unstable, but if we can keep it under our control, we might stand a chance." "Let's not celebrate just yet," Cade warned, scanning the chamber for any signs of movement. "We still have no idea how many more of those things are out there." Torres glanced down at his scanner, frowning. "It looks like we've temporarily disrupted the power flow, but I'm detecting a surge from deeper within the ship. The *Kari* are responding. They are regrouping, and fast." "Then we need to move," Cade said decisively. "We can't let them trap us in here." The team quickly checked their weapons and made their way out of the chamber, taking a cautious route through the dimly lit corridors. As they moved deeper into the ship, the air grew thick and oppressive, charged with an electric energy that felt almost alive. Cade could feel the ship pulsing around them, a sentient entity that had awakened to defend itself. Suddenly, the distant howls echoed through the corridors, a chilling reminder that they were not alone. The sound sent a jolt of adrenaline through Cade, and she quickened her pace. "Are you picking up anything on your scanner, Torres?" Cade asked, her voice tight with urgency. Torres nodded, glancing at the device. "There's definitely more activity ahead. I'm detecting multiple life signs closing in fast, but there's something else. A massive energy signature. It's like the heart of the ship. And it's moving." "Moving?" Juno repeated, incredulous. "What do you mean?" "I think the core is shifting," Torres explained. "It could be a control center, or something even more dangerous. If we can get to it, we might be able to take control of the ship entirely. But if it's moving, we'll have to keep up with it while fending off whatever's coming at us," Cade said, her brow furrowing. "We can't risk getting pinned down again." "Then let's pick up the pace," Juno urged, tightening her grip on her rifle. "We're not going to let this thing take us down." They pressed on, adrenaline pumping through their veins as the howls grew louder, echoing down the corridors like a chorus of death. Cade could feel the pressure mounting, the sense of dread clinging to her as they raced against time and fate. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, to find safety in numbers, but there was no turning back now. They had to face whatever horrors awaited them in the depths of this monstrous ship. As they rounded a corner, they entered a vast chamber unlike any they had seen before. The walls were lined with flickering bioluminescent veins that pulsed in rhythm with the ship's heartbeat. At the center of the room stood a massive organic structure, a pulsating mass of light and energy that glowed with an otherworldly brilliance. "That's it," Torres breathed, awe mingling with fear. "That must be the core." Before they could approach, a new sound broke through the air, the thundering footsteps of multiple hybrids converging on their location. Cade's blood ran cold as shadows began to emerge from the far side of the chamber. "Get ready," she shouted, raising her weapon as the hybrids surged forward. They were faster, leaner, and more feral than the previous creature, their eyes glowing with an unholy light. The team opened fire, plasma bolts lighting up the chamber as they unleashed everything they had. The hybrids dodged and weaved, their movements almost choreographed as they closed the distance. "Fall back to the core," Cade shouted, leading the charge toward the pulsating mass of energy. If they could reach it, perhaps they could harness its power to fend off the onslaught. Juno took down one of the hybrids with a well-placed shot, but two more took its place, relentless in their pursuit. Cade could feel the heat of their breath, the stench of alien musk filling the air as they drew closer. "Move, move, move," Cade urged, her voice a rallying cry. They dashed for the core, dodging the creature's swipes and fangs, desperation fueling their every step. As they neared the center, the glow from the core intensified, a beacon of hope amid the chaos. "Vaughn, can you interface with it?" Cade shouted over her shoulder. "I'll try," Vaughn called back, scrambling toward the massive light as Cade and the others held their ground. The hybrids were closing in, and Cade could feel the weight of the odds stacking against them. With a roar of defiance, she faced the oncoming horde, ready to fight against impossible odds. Together, they would either turn the tide or perish within this nightmare. This part escalates the action and tension as the crew races against time to reach the core of the ship while fending off relentless attacks from the Kari hybrids. The stakes are high, and the situation feels increasingly desperate as they confront the challenges head-on, setting the stage for the climax in the next part. The chamber was alive with chaos. Cade stood at the forefront, weapon raised, the weight of the moment pressing heavily upon her shoulders. The pulsating core behind her emitted a warm glow, a heartbeat echoing through the vast space, a stark contrast to the icy dread pooling in her gut as the Kari hybrids closed in. Their eyes glinted with feral intelligence, and their snarls filled the air with an unrelenting promise of violence. "Vaughn, hurry," Cade shouted, glancing over her shoulder at the glowing mass. Vaughn was already at the base of the core, fingers dancing over the strange organic interface, her eyes wide with concentration. "I'm trying. This system is so different from anything we've encountered," she yelled, frustration lacing her voice. "It's almost like it's responding to my presence." "Then keep talking to it," Cade urged, shifting her stance as one of the hybrids lunged forward. She fired, the plasma bolt searing through the air and striking the creature in the shoulder. It screeched, stumbling back, but it was quickly replaced by another, and then another. The team was becoming overwhelmed, the odds stacked against them. Juno was already breathless, firing at point-blank range, her rifle shaking in her grip. "There's too many. We can't hold them back forever." "Just a little longer," Cade urged, her heart racing. She felt the energy of the core behind her, pulsing in time with her heartbeat. If Vaughn could harness its power, they might just have a fighting chance. Torres, panting heavily, took a position beside Cade, firing in rapid succession. "I've got your back, Commander. We can't let them reach the core." But as Cade focused on the fight, she could see the creatures adapting. They moved with an eerie coordination, darting between the team's fire and closing the gap. Cade felt a rising panic. How much longer could they hold out against such overwhelming force? "Vaughn," Cade shouted again, her voice strained. "We need that power now." "I'm almost there," Vaughn replied, her brow glistening with sweat as she fought against the ship's systems. "I can feel it. It's like the ship wants to help, but I have to unlock it first." Cade turned her attention back to the approaching hybrids. She fired again, this time targeting a creature's leg, and it fell with a howl. But there were still more, their snarls growing louder as they pressed forward, a wave of terror and fury. "Fall back," Juno shouted, retreating toward the core, and Cade felt her heart lurch at the thought of giving ground. But there was no choice. They needed to protect Vaughn and the core at all costs. As they fell back, Cade felt a surge of resolve. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, and they had always stood their ground. They wouldn't let these alien monstrosities take their world without a fight. "Hold the line," Cade yelled, rallying her team. We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for humanity. Torres nodded fiercely, determination flashing in his eyes. Let's show them what we're made of. The hybrids surged, but Cade and her team took position around the core, forming a defensive line. The glow of the core intensified, and Cade could feel the energy building around them, resonating with their own defiance. Vaughn's fingers flew over the interface, and then she looked up, her eyes wide with excitement. I think I've done it. The core is responding. It wants to fight back. Cade felt a surge of hope. What do we need to do? Just keep them off me, Vaughn shouted, her voice almost drowned out by the howls of the approaching hybrids. With renewed vigor, Cade and the others prepared for the final stand. The first hybrid lunged forward, and Cade fired, catching it in the chest. Juno followed up with a shot to its head, and it fell in a heap. But the next wave was already upon them. Cade gritted her teeth and held her ground, each shot fired echoing the determination within her. She felt the hum of the core resonate in her bones, a reminder of what they were fighting for: survival, unity, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. With one last push, Vaughn shouted, "Now, release the energy." The core erupted with light, a blinding wave of energy washing over the chamber. The hybrids shrieked as the surge of power coursed through the room, a brilliant shockwave that sent them staggering back. Cade felt the surge lift her, infusing her with strength, a collective force of humanity pushing back against the darkness. "Now's our chance. Push forward," Cade shouted, her voice piercing through the chaos. The energy radiated from the core, arcing through the chamber and connecting with each member of her team. They surged forward, firing with renewed conviction. The remaining hybrids fell before them, unable to withstand the force of the energy and the sheer determination of the crew. Cade led the charge, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through her veins. They fought not just against the monsters before them, but against the fear that threatened to consume them. With every step, they reclaimed their ground. And then, in the eye of the storm, Cade knew they would emerge victorious. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, and today they would stand firm, united in their fight against the unknown. This final part culminates in a powerful showdown as humanity takes a stand against the Kari hybrids, culminating in an exhilarating battle fueled by their resilience and the ship's energy. The themes of unity and determination shine through, wrapping up the story on a high note.